With thousands of racetracks around the world, it can be easy to forget about those that have been lost to time. Hidden deep in forests, left to rot in plain sight, and some even being completely demolished, paved over for new industry to take its place with no trace of the racing history that was once there. These lost sites of racing history should not be forgotten, however. And with this series, I strive to make sure that we never forget these abandoned homes of racing. These are the Lost Racetracks. I remember being a young kid going to the Magic Kingdom and passing by the Disney World Speedway, hearing the loud roar of the NASCAR engines as they took people around the track while we waited for a tram to arrive. Soon I was able to see this action in person as my parents decided to partake in the Petty Racing Experience, a service that takes fans out and gives them a taste of what it is really like to be in a stock car barreling down straights and through tight corners. Little did I know, however, that soon the very asphalt that I was standing on would have a very different purpose. One much less interesting and much more disappointing for us racing fans. Plans for the track were first announced on January 23, 1995 by IMS and Walt Disney World, as the track was primarily built to be used by the new Indy Racing League. The track used a triangle-shaped plot of land in order to intrude on the existing infrastructure as little as possible. The final layout of the track was a 1-mile tri-oval, dubbed the Mick Yard by both Autoweek and the Orlando Sentinel. The track was built on a very limited budget, with permanent structures being kept to a minimum. In fact, all of the grandstands were temporary, able to be taken down during peak season to make room for more parking. The design was so basic that only the track surface, retaining wall, and catch fence would be built to be permanent. The track was completed in October of 1995, and testing took place at the track over the following months. In 1996, it began holding its first races, with the main event being the IRL's Indy 200, held on January 27th. This was also coincidentally the first ever race for the newly formed Indy Racing League, so there was a lot of pressure put on the speedway to present a good race. Luckily for Disney and the IMS, the race did not disappoint. An estimated 50,742 spectators watched Buzz Calkins and future IRL champion Tony Stewart battle for the win, with Calkins just edging out Stewart after a heated duel. However, the lead-up to the race did not go as smoothly as some would have liked. On January 13th, former stunt driver Butch Brickell broke 2 vertebrae following a heavy crash into the Turn 1 wall. This wreck unsurprisingly ended up sidelining Brickell for the main event 2 weeks later. The misfortune continued the following few weeks, with Eliseo Salazar clipping the wall exiting Turn 3. Losing control of his car, he crashed heavily into both the inside and outside walls, causing a stabilizing rod to pierce his leg. He was transported to the Orlando Regional Medical Center, where he was treated for a fractured femur and thigh injuries. He was later listed in stable condition. With the 1996 race being a relative success, IndyCar decided to come back in 1997, with the NASCAR Truck Series also making a stop at the Speedway. The 1997 IRL race once again did not go without any incidents, however, as on January 11th, Salazar lost control of his car, crashing into the Turn 1 wall and suffering a compression fracture in his lower back. This wreck sidelined him from the race for the second year in a row. These issues continued, as during the Friday morning practice, Davy Jones crashed rear first into the Turn 3 wall. Jones had to be extricated from his car and was later airlifted to Orlando Regional Medical Center in critical condition. While he would eventually recover, Jones sustained a closed head injury, as well as injuries to his neck ligaments. He would not race again until the 1999 12 Hours of Sebring. The actual race itself went off without a hitch, and was ended after only 149 laps due to rain. Despite dominating most of the race, Stewart crashed on lap 143 while trying to make up a 10-second gap to the leader. The leader and eventual race winner at the time was Eddie Cheever, who took the win in the rain-shortened event. Both the 1997 and 1998 Truck Series events were widely uneventful, with the series no longer visiting the track after the 1998 race, and in large part due to the long 10-week break in between the first and second races of the series. In 1998, IRL once again came back to Disney, and just like in 1997, this time rain would once again cause issues. Qualifying was rained out, resulting in the field being set by the 1996-97 entrance points, with the remaining new drivers being set by practice speeds. The actual event itself finally saw no major injuries, and Tony Stewart ended up taking his second career Indy Racing League win. The IRL continued to race at Disney World up until 2000, when it ran its final race at the venue. Things were not helped when another serious accident occurred in the lead-up to the 2000 race at the Speedway, this one with more unfortunate consequences. On January 6, 2000, driver Sam Schmidt was paralyzed following a heavy crash during preseason testing. This would be another blow to the Speedway, as it had only gone 2 years without a significant injury taking place. Things were not helped by the inability to come to an agreement in regard to a 2001 race. Indy Racing League officials were not satisfied with the January race date, as there was typically a 6-week gap between it and the second race of the season. Another issue that came up had to do with the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 35 would be taking place in Tampa that year, presumably on the same exact weekend as the IRL race date. Initial talks planned to move the race to Labor Day weekend, but concerns over parking, as this would be during peak season, canceled that move. Another potential option was to move the race to a new facility that would be built near US 192, but plans for that also fell apart. Talks quietly ended and no major series ever returned to the track after the 2000 season. The only thing left at the track now was the Richard Petty driving experience, a service that allowed everyday people like you and I to drive real stock cars, or to ride along with a professional driver around the track. In 2008, the Indy Racing Experience joined the Richard Petty driving experience at the track, providing IndyCar fans with an opportunity to go around the speedway in a 2-seater IndyCar. On January 16, 2012, the Exotic driving experience started up shop at the speedway. A new Exotics course was created using part of the infield, and was combined with the backstretch of the speedway. The choice was also made to run this layout in a clockwise direction, the opposite direction that the speedway was intended to be driven on. Little did they know at the time, but this would end up being a fatal mistake.
We're learning more about a driving instructor who died yesterday after the sports car he was riding in crashed. This happened at the Richard Petty driving experience that's at the Walt Disney World Speedway at the back of the Magic Kingdom parking lot.
Troopers say the crash happened when the driver, 24-year-old Tavon Watson, lost control of a Lamborghini in the course and slammed into a guardrail. The impact sent him to the hospital with minor injuries and killed Terry, who was in the passenger seat.
On April 12, 2015, driving instructor Gary Terry was fatally injured when the driver of a Lamborghini Gallardo LP574 Superleggera that he was in lost control, crashing into an exposed metal guardrail on the backstretch of the track. Terry died at the scene of the crash, while the driver of the vehicle escaped with minor injuries. Just 2 weeks prior, Disney had stated that the speedway would be demolished in August to make way for more parking and other transportation improvements. Terry was 36 at the time of his death. So here we are now. It's 2021, and not much is left of the speedway. The murky waters of the now abandoned Lake Mickey are all that is left. Soon, I'm sure, these too will be paved over, leaving nothing left of the track that once was. Soon, it will be nothing more than a memory. It will truly be a lost racetrack.